Hi, we're Group 79, and our project is on UC system eatery preferences. I'm Shritama.
I'm Luis.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Natalie.
So our research question is there a difference in sentiments expressed on Reddit by the student bodies of the UC system in the last year towards HGH and non-HGH eateries on campus?
With new university students commonly asking about where to eat on campus, which has especially become a topic of interest with the pandemic and new eateries opening, we decided to analyze data from posts and comments in the online student communities hosted on Reddit. We will be analyzing how HGH-affiliated eateries are perceived in comparison to non-HGH eateries across the UC system.
For prior four, we found two papers. One of them was done by Sky Factor, studying how dining halls affect the housing experience, and another one was done by a previous group, and it's similar on the way how we're going to approach our research question and using similar methods such as using Reddit API to collect our data.
Our hypothesis is that there's a difference in sentiment expressed on Reddit by the student bodies of the study universities in the last school year towards HGH and non-HGH eateries. So in other words, the proportion of positive to negative commentary will be higher for non-HGH eateries. This is because college dining halls are historically attributed to lower quality due to mass production and contract issues.
We didn't use a pre-generated dataset. We scraped our own using the Reddit API from the subreddits listed below for all the UC systems. We filtered text data from the past year by using a list of keywords that contained all the restaurants or eateries on all of these campuses. Of course, this data wasn't necessarily clean to start with, so we dropped all the columns that we didn't necessarily need and made sure that each row represented one Reddit post with a title, a body, and a way of identification, the subreddit in question, what keyword it came from, and whether or not it counted as HDH data or not. We checked for missing data. We found quite a bit of missing data in our body column, but not in our title column, so we used fill-NA to get rid of that. We checked for further missing data. There was none. But we also found that there's a significant difference in the number of posts attributed to HGH eateries versus non-HGH eateries, which is something we'll have to keep in mind when we do our statistical analysis. To begin the NLP part of our project, we used the Vader library to determine the sentiment of the title and body of each post in our dataset, and then saved these sentiment scores in two new columns, title sentiment and body sentiment. And here's what the data looks like with those scores added.
After finding and adding the sentiment scores, we ran the following line to show us how many words in the data were either negative, positive, or neutral. We next made a table displaying the average sentiments for each campus subreddit, looking at the posts and bodies.
As we can see, we did histograms and we see that they're not normally distributed, but so we dropped the body sentiment as it's definitely not normally distributed. So we only ran a t-test on the title sentiment.
In order to perform the t-test, we used the research module and we separated data into two groups, HDH and non-HDH. We also included two histograms to show that the sentiment distribution for HDH and non-HDH.
So calculating the two-sided t-test p-value, we got 0.2063, which suggests a weak positive association between the two variables, but it's not strong enough for statistical significance. Thus, we cannot say with a high degree of confidence that sentiment towards HDH is stronger than for non-HDH and fail to reject the null hypothesis.
As for ethics and privacy, the data we collected is from Reddit, a public and accessible platform, so there is minimal cause for concern when looking into ethical and privacy issues. However, given the possibility of personally identifiable information in students' usernames or posts they make, we will anonymize the text data we collect to minimize the risk.
So given that the p-value was 0.2063 and greater than the alpha of 0.05, this implies that while an effect might still exist, the effect size or sample size may be too small, or there may be too much variability for our hypothesis test to be able to detect it, and therefore we cannot reject the null hypothesis. This result may have been affected by several factors. One possible reason is that while there may be a general unspoken student consensus that HDH eateries are less favorable, this may not be a compelling enough topic for students to post about regularly, or the sentiments of pictures or videos reflecting certain connotations were not included in our data set. And another is that we may be unaware of other shorthands or nicknames referring to on-campus eateries. Another note to keep in mind is that tone, idioms, or sarcasm can affect how accurately sentiment analysis tools can detect the true implications, and addressing this will require more sophisticated tools. And other limitations of our project was our group's limited experience with GitHub and Jupyter notebook as well as Python. And we also struggled with the Reddit data itself, particularly in finding which Reddit groups were legitimate as well as active. For the future, we could pull a larger sample of data by expanding the year range or using additional online public student forums. Thank you.